Hello in front of all people from Institut Igalo. Here I will talk about the study we conducted in the Institut Igalo in 2018. As you can see, it's relatively long ago because of the situation in the world. But the part of the results we show on the 22nd European Congress of the Physical and Rehabilitation Medicine in Belgrade in 2020. And when we are talking about rheumatic diseases, all we know that is very much in connection with the immune system function. So to understand what can be goal of treating and how it's maybe the best possible way to treat, it's necessary to understand how immune system work and how it's controlled. So first of all, we can say that health means maintaining some internal balance, or how we call it in physiology, homeostasis. And homeostasis is a self-regulating process which the organism strives to maintain some internal stability. In each second it's happened 1,000 reactions in the body, but body still have this kind of intelligence to keep some internal stability. It means some stable concentration of the metabolic, like glucoses, cholesterol, hormones, enzymes. Also stability of the temperature and heart rate, breathing, everything. And all these reactions which happen in the body all the time needs energy, and the way how energy comes from is our metabolic process. Also, when we are talking about the immunity is very close relationship to with the metabolic process, because of course immune reactions need a lot of energy. When we are talking about immune system, it's we always have to take in mind that is the process which involves the whole body, but the main or key system organs for the immunity is a gut. And it's because of the gut microbiome, which is a complex symbiotic ecosystem, which are made up from the many bacteria, archaea, viruses, all different microbes, and microbes contains around 150 times more genes than the human genes. We are born with around 22,000 genes, and because of the microbiome, we have altogether around 3.3 million genes in our body. Important to say is that because microbes have a very short life, because of that our genetics change extremely quickly because of the changing microbe in the gut. Studies in the last decades show up that the function of the microbiome is very much in connection with the diversity, how different microbes we have in our gut. And also study shows that people who live in a very warm climate have much more efficient microbiome, because they are living and coming into touch with a different kind of microbes in comparing with the people who are living in a cold climate. It's the same with the people who live in the villages and work on the land, and the farmers, which are in connecting with the different microbes in comparing with the urban population. As I said, the immune response involves the whole body, and because of that it's necessary to have some kind of over-control, and this over-control comes from the network with what we call neuroendocrine immune network. From the name you can see that involve nerve system, endocrine, which is other name for the hormonal system, and also immunity. And that is why in this communication it's involved different kind of messengers, or the cells and mediators, like cytokine, neurotransmitters, hormones, etc. the activity of the gut is very much controlled from the autonomic nerve system. Autonomic nerve system control mobility of the gut, also secretion and blood flow. And also from the name autonomic nerve system, we can understand that is out of our control. It's working separately. And the main two parts of the autonomic nerve system is sympathetic and parasympathetic parts or fibers. When the sympathetic fibers are activated, that is when we are in a hurry, when we are in a stress, when we are in a danger, have to work something physically or mentally. And when the sympathetic nerves be stimulated, then we are feeling like a sweating, like heart beating, breathing a little bit more frequently. Also the blood vessels become narrow and the gut working slowly. Opposite of this sympathetic nerve system is a parasympathetic, which is completely opposite, which be activated when we are relaxing. And the reaction of the parasympathetic nerve system is that gut working more efficiently, and heart rate and breathing slow down, and all different actions. The key for the health is the balance between these two parts, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Problem in our daily life is that we are majority of the time driven by the sympathetic nerve system, because we are always in some kind of action, and instead of relaxing we are checking the mails or spend the time on social media or whatever, so it's all the time activated. So we try to find a way out how to push a little bit this other part, this parasympathetic part of the nerve system. And when we are talking about this parasympathetic, the key rule have the vagus nerve. That is the nerve which connects the brain to the all organs in the chest, in the stomach. And vagus nerve send all huge amount of the information from the stomach and from all the organs up to the brain and vice versa. Vagus nerve is a mixed nerve which have sensory motor fibers, but 75% of the fibers of the vagus nerve is parasympathetic. And when some inflammation happen in the body, this sensitive part of the vagus nerve send information up to the brain that something happened. After that, the brain process the information and have to send down some input how to deal with the inflammation and how to modulate inflammation. And these fibers which send down information how to deal with the inflammatory process or something which is going wrong is the part of the vagus nerve what we call cholinergic anti-inflammatory pathways. So this pathway is have a crucial role in modulating inflammation, and it's targeting different type of the inflammatory cells, for example epithelial cells, that is the cells on the surface of the organs, and endothelial cells is on the surface of the blood vessels, and also some other signaling system. So a lot of studies are done in trying to find a way how to stimulate the vagus nerve, or how to change the inflammation in the body to send some signals down. And the researchers find out that some of the modalities is using some medication, like antiarrhythmic medicine, nesteroid anti-rheumatic medicine, which gives good results, but problem is the nose effect. Also, there is a possibility to use some electrical devices, but problem is that the vagus nerve is available only in the bottom of the neck, where there is very complicated structure to stimulate. So what is hypothesis for our study is that we try to find out some mechanism how to stimulate the vagus nerve without nous effect. And we come out with the hypothesis that mindfulness meditation and aromatherapy maybe can be these non-invasive techniques which makes a neuromodulation, and it's working through this complicated Latin way or pathway, but in a simple way. Prefrontal cortex, it's a part of the brain which we have in the front of our head, which is responsible for thinking process and consciousness. And because thoughts are electric activity of the brain, when we have some thoughts, then this electrical impulse spread through the brain and touch different part, including the limbic system, which is part of the brain, what we call emotional brain, which is responsible for the emotion, for the memory, and different other things. And in this limbic system is also something, some part, what we call hypothalamus, which is our human GPS system, which is all the central function, including control function for the autonomic nerve system and vagus nerve. So what we are working with the mindfulness meditation. It's a technique which helps us to redirecting attention from the outside inside, which achieves a mentally pure and emotionally calm and stable state. Of course, that meditation needs some practicing, but people who practice meditation know that meditation very quickly leads to some physiological changes that include changing in brain activity slow down. Also, brain waves become not only slower, it becomes much more harmonized. That is on the down part of the picture, you can see how brain is working during the day when the different impulses come from the different part. And on the upper part is when the brain waves are harmonized and coherent. And this coherent state helps that we save our energy because reduce metabolism and needs for oxygen. Also, it affects, as I said, limbic system and hypothalamus, and then change secretion of the different hormones and regulate autonomic nerve system, which lead to slow down heart rate, blood pressure, and respiration. Nearby the same effects we get with the aroma oils treatment, but with a different way of action. So the beneficial effects of the aroma oils are not only limited to the olfactory system, because it's absorbing very quickly to the skin and nose and come into the systematic circulation. Also, aroma oils are lipophilic. It means that is soluble in the fats, so they reach the brain very quickly and change brainwave activity and hormonal activity, just like meditation. We use it in a combination with the warm mineral bath, because they helps that aromatherapy have even stronger effect. So in our study we have 44 patients from Norway which have confirmed diagnosis of the chronic inflammatory rheumatic disease, who spend the 4 weeks time in a rehabilitation in Institut Igalo. In experimental and group and control group we have, in both groups we have 22 patients. Also, all patients receive a standard therapeutical protocol which consists active and passive treatment. And in experimental group, patients have in additional mindfulness meditation and hydroaromatherapy. Meditation were conducted according to the program Dr. Joe Dispenza, 5 days a week in 3 weeks. The daily season include 2 parts. It's a conscious breathing around 7-8 minutes, and then guided meditation lasting about 45 minutes. In these 3 weeks, we use a different Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation. In the first week, we use reconditioning the body to the new mind. In the second week, turning into the new potentials, and in third week, blessing the energy centers, number 1 meditation. We have some space condition that is relative stable temperature, lighting, and sound conditions, and patients additionally use eye masks. Hydroaromatherapy was applied in hydromassage baths 3 days a week in 3 weeks. And baths are filled with 150 liters of the mineral water Igalica in Igalo. And we add the aroma oils, lavender 1 milliliter, and lemon and orange both 205 milliliter. The temperature of the bath was 36-37 degrees, and the procedure lasts about 15 minutes. So what we measure is measuring from the blood supplies and measuring the biofeedback through the M-Wave Pro system monitoring. And measurements was taken in the first and 25th day of stay. In a blood test, we measure different things, but it's a huge number of biochemical analyses. So I will present you the results of the glycosylated hemoglobin, which is very sensitive, which very sensitively show us the metabolic activity in the body. Because the glucose is, or blood sugar, is main food for our cells, and after the meal, glucose from the stomach come into the circulation, level of the glucose rise up in the circulation, and then stimulate the insulin secretion. Insulin is a kind of messenger who have a rule to open up a gate that glucose can come into the cells. If the metabolic process is not working properly, if it's something like inflammation or some metabolic disease, then these cells not be sensitive of insulin. That is why the chronic inflammation is very often connected with the insulin resistance. And then the level of the glucose in the blood stay a little bit higher all the time. And glycosylated hemoglobin is the measure which show us how big this extra concentration of the glucose is, because this extra glucose be bonded with the protein which called hemoglobin from the blood. Also, we measure hormone levels, and we use serotonin and cortisol level. Serotonin is one of the main important neurotransmitters. We call the serotonin the hormone of happiness, and it's involved in many physiological processes as sleep, respiration, nutrition, mobility of the gut, cognitive health, regulation of the mood, and different things. Cortisol is a hormone that often is referred to the stress hormone, because it participating in the body response to stress. But it's also responsible for increasing the blood pressure, sugar levels, and it have immunosuppressive effect. Also, we measure these biofeedback measures, which is a spectral analysis of the time between the heartbeats, because this information gives us very important information about activity of the autonomic nervous system. When we are talking about something which is normal heart beating, like 60 times per minute, we usually think that our heart is beating regularly 60 times, but it's not like this. Always between two beats is some small difference in depending is it active sympathetic or parasympathetic part of the autonomic nervous system, and that is what we are measuring to the coherence score, which show us kind of general harmony. Also, we measure coherence score levels, which show us the percentage of time, how long of the time dominate sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve system, and also this system show us mathematically this low frequency high frequency ratio, which is a indicator of the inner balance. So in our group we have that is not results, that is just to table about the group. The average age of the patient was 50 years in experimental and 55 in a control group. Duration of the illness 14 years in experimental and 17 in control group. Also in experimental group we have 8 men and 14 ladies, and in control only 5 men and 17 ladies. And down is in a percentage different diagnoses in groups. That is also something like general information about some results what we usually measure, like morning stiffness pain and MHAC score in both group, and we can see that it's improved in both group, but significantly more in experimental. When we are talking about our study results, that glycosylated hemoglobin, which bound the extra glucose in the body, show us that it's significantly improving only in the experimental group. I will explain on the end why. About serotonin concentration, it's also improved. It's improved practically in both groups, rise up in comparing with this. The same in the control group, but it's a significantly improved in the experimental group. Cortisol concentration improve in experimental group, but not significantly so much and important. When we are talking about these biofeedback measures, we can see that this harmony of heart rate beating is improving in the experimental group, not in the control. Also, it's not to complicate you very much, it's improving very much activity of the high level show us this vagus or parasympathetic activity. It's improved only in the experimental group, and in the experimental group improve also this ratio between sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve system. What it means to understand. We can say that study was conducted in Institut Igalo, which have more than 70 years of experience in the physical treatment and rehabilitation of patients with rheumatic diseases. And we investigate effectiveness of the meditation and hydroaromatherapy as additional treatment to the standard program with the patient diagnosed with the chronic inflammation. And hypothesis was that these two kinds of treatment have neuromodulatory effect on immune response and can modulate inflammation. We want to stimulate the vagus because vagus nerve have protective role in inflammation. And we find out that mindfulness meditation is important neuroimmunomodulatory tool, and also well-controlled studies have shown that mindfulness meditation can reduce inflammatory markers and stress hormone levels, and regulate blood pressure, balance heart rate, which is a sign how the autonomic nerve system works. But the mechanism how it's happened have to be researched furthermore. According to the literature, aroma oils have a strong neuromodulatory effect and have anti-inflammatory properties. And that is the conclusion also about lavender oil that have also anti-inflammation effect and have restore activity of the antioxidant enzymes. Orange and lemon oils have a stimulating effect and also anti-inflammatory effect. When we are talking about these results, what I show, we can see that this serum glycosylated hemoglobin with a complicated name concentration is statistically significantly reduced after treatment in experimental group. That is indicator of improved metabolic activity of the cells in a group which received this additional treatment. Serotonin levels is also significantly higher after the treatment in experimental group, and the serotonin show us improving in a neurohormonal balance in the body, which play an important role in regulating different body function, including blood clotting, gut function, regulating anxiety and stress. We expect that maybe morning cortisol level will be reduced, and it's not happened, but we assume that it's very possible that is because the time when we take blood for testing is so short, and patients are always in such hurry that is maybe rise up the stress hormones level. Also, neuroimmune modulation is basically parasympathetic modulation, and it shows us that this general rehabilitation protocol improve activity of the autonomic nerve system, and these additional treatments furthermore enhanced the parasympathetic activity of the autonomic nerve system and increase what we see as increasing coherence course levels. And this study shows us that this link between the nerve system and immune system is a key link for controlling the inflammation in the body. The treatment with, of patients with chronic inflammatory rheumatic disease is significantly very improved in the recent years with the using of the biological and immunomodulatory therapies. But using this kind of treatment means also some kind of side effects. Because the chronic inflammation, rheumatic diseases have the presence of the chronic inflammation, but it's always associated together with the metabolic problems and metabolic stress. And usual protocols for physical treatment and rehabilitation are designed to increase the mobility, to reduce the pain and inflammation, and improve, of course, quality of life. And the results of this study indicate that mindfulness meditation and hydroaromatherapy, together with the factors what we use in Institut Igalo, have impact on this vagus pathway and can regulate the inflammation by connecting the brain and the immune system. So the question is, can maybe the mindfulness meditation and hydroaromatherapy, this missing link in mind-body connection? We believe that it can be even also some other mindfulness and biofeedback techniques which involve this central mechanism and can modulate the immune response. And our thinking is that better understanding of this neural connection in a body and finding a way how to stimulate it without invasive techniques can significantly contribute to treatment and inflammatory disorders and improve life of the patient with a chronic inflammatory rheumatic disease. So that is our first group. First of all, I think that the key of the general health is balance. Balance in everything. Balance in concentration of different things in the body. Balance about autonomic nerves in the autonomic nerve system. Also, we achieve it through the balance treatment.